Good evening, YouTubers. Welcome to Shrigleytube TV, episode 63. Hope you've had a good week. I've had a difficult one, to say the least. We'll call it the crash after the high of the stock car weekend. It's a bit of a drag your feet job halfway through, but we've got through it and made it to Friday, so it's all good. If you're a new viewer, then welcome. I hope you enjoy what you see. If you're returning, then thank you for coming back to see more. I won't waffle too much. I'll just get on with the video and hope you enjoy it. I look forward to seeing you next Sunday at 7. Bye for now. Okay, just on with Noel, the most patient customer in the world. We actually started this engine back in, or quoted for it back in 2018. This is the block we did the liners for the other day. So it's got the 74mm liners. It's got a big valve head with an R20 cam. And I'm really pleased to just work the compression ratio out. It was 12.2 to 1, so it should go bang properly. Should have some decent torque, this good 75 foot-pound, and an R20 generally makes about 85-90 horsepower, so hopefully it'll be a good all-rounder for him. He's not going full race spec, we're just doing standard sump, etc. It's got some bolts in it. Now he has organised this lovely manifold from Will Perry. This has just arrived. This is Will's equal length manifold that he's redesigned it and done all the primaries and the secondaries to a certain length. They're all very well matched, and they definitely help with the horsepower and the torque. But what I was going to talk about for a second was this cam cover. Look at this, and that's smart. This is it's had like a piece let into it. These were done by a chap called Rob C, local to me, and I remember him having them for sale at National Weekend. Normally we have like a big fuel pump mount on here, so I'm going to put my sticker on there. I should have asked him to do some more of them, really. He's probably too busy to get involved with them now, but yeah, what a cracking job he's done of that. So I'm going to put that on, get the carbs. He's dropped some carbs off, but I'm not quite sure about them. I'm going to have a bit of a look around them and make sure they're okay. There's a bit of a rebuild kit that came with them, so we're gonna have a look over those and hopefully we'll get a tune out of this before Friday. Okay, YouTubers, if you managed to endure the whole of last week's video, you remember I got onto a bit of a waffle about a slow running circuit in an engine. So I was just looking over these carbs for Noel, some Delautos that he'd rebuilt, and this is his engine. It's going to run hopefully very shortly. Nice Will Perry exhaust there on it. Anyway, I thought, oh, while the top's off, I can talk a little bit more about the slow running circuit, because it's really easy to see how the carburetor works now. So it's dead easy, this, right? That's your main circuit, you see there, and that uses that big jet that goes in that hole there. And then this one is your slow run circuit. You can see the channel, it goes along here. So the slow running idle screw, so that's your mixture control for idle circuit. If we look down the end here, you'll see, you can literally see the big hole that goes down there into the middle of the Venturi. That's for your sort of your wide open throttle, or no, for anything where you've got the airspeed for the main Venturi to work, basically. So probably sort of like 3,000 RPM upwards. Right, so what I was going to say was, you can see the slow run circuit. So we have fuel in the float chamber here to about here, say. So we've got a vacuum. It draws the fuel up the jet, through here, along here, to the slow running mixture screw. So when it's idling, it runs purely on this circuit, on this hole here. So that's where the fuel comes out of. And when you go to rev it, see those little 5 holes there? They're like your slow running progressive holes. So as you rev it, the fuel comes out of those. We're still on the slow run circuit on the little jet, that one, not the big one. It's only when you go big throttle and you've got lots of airspeed that it'll pull the fuel through that main Venturi in the middle there. Now, I can sort of show this by taking you next door, because I have an engine on the dyno at the moment. I was quite shocked myself, really. I thought, well, we'll run it up without any mains in it. So the mains are on top, so you can see its holes there. And we'll see what it sounds like. I'll just unplug the microphone because it won't like the noise of the engine. Okay, so you can see there it was just running purely on the slow circuit, and when I went to go wide open, where normally we'd have the air then to be able to draw it through the main venturi, it just died because obviously it couldn't get any fuel because there's no jets in it. Okay guys, you remember last week we had a visit from Chris Steele, and he had the head gasket that was blown on his little 998 rally engine. So we said we'd put the wheel string head on. So this is that engine on the dyno running now, and it's the one we just done the demonstration with the carbs running on the slow running circuit. So I thought, well, while it's warm, I'll finish dynoing it because he's coming to collect it tomorrow. So I've been running it. I've messed around a little bit with the advance, made no real difference. It's not ignition sensitive, being a lower compression engine. So I've put what I think is a sensible amount of advancing. And the fueling, yeah, pretty much bang on where I thought it'd be. I'm getting big-headed now, aren't I? But yeah, all that's turned out good. So what we'll do is we'll wind it up together. We'll start it low down. We'll get some load in the dyno. So I've been seeing about 73 foot-pound. It's not a bad air day. It's quite good for this. It's quite a fresh engine, really. Right, we'll get it loaded up at say about 2,500. Come on, Mr. Dyno, grab hold of him. There you go. That's wide open at 2,600 RPM. So 3,000 it goes up to about 70 foot-pound. 3.5 it's still holding 70. Come on. 4,000 it's 70 still. 4.5 it's maybe gone up a smidge. 73 at 5. 5.5 it's 73. 6 75. 6.5, 7. Bit of smoke in the cell there. I'm not concerned about that because I've been letting it make friends for quite a while. So what tends to happen is the exhaust gets lined inside of it with like oil and carbon and whatnot, and then when you get it a right good wind up like that and make it work, it burns it all out, and you think, crikey, it's burning oil, but it's not. It's just in the exhaust, just residual oil, we'll call it. Right, I'm really pleased with that. That held its torque really well. I think he'll be quite pleased with that. We'll call that in the out tray and look forward to collecting it tomorrow. Had a visit from Ed. He's been down in his little rally car. We've just been twiddling some screws on his carburetor. Just gone out of balance a little bit, you know, just what happens over time with Webbers. How are we doing, Ed?
Yeah, good, thanks, Andy.
Yeah, thanks for agreeing to be on Shrigleytube. I'm a bit desperate for content. I keep on skiving off and not doing any work, and it gets to Sunday and I've got nothing to put on. But I was just going to say to you, you've had quite a productive year in the car, quite successful. You've been getting quicker and quicker. We see these top 10 times coming up. And
yeah, it's been good. The old 70s mojo's come back a little bit, so I'm starting to pedal it a little bit better, knowing how the car's handling now. So, but we just need 5 or 6 seconds a mile quicker on the tests. So yeah. I think we'll have to have a new engine.
Yeah, well, we've just been having a bit of a discussion, haven't we? And this one's a good engine, but it's quite a mild cam in it. So it's quite nice and torquey. It drives lovely. But really, for an imp to be quick, it needs to be horrible round town and then sing its heart out when you get it up to sort of 8,000. So we'll create something a bit wilder for next year, hopefully. When you're next out, Ed?
So we're out 3rd, 4th of October in North Lincolnshire. It's a Heroes event. It's a championship I'm doing with Heroes, and I think we're lying in the about 5th or 6th in it at the moment.
Wow.
So if we get a class win and a top 10 position, might be in the prizes.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Right, well, thanks for talking to us, Ed. Let's have a quick listen to your engine. Is it going to idle nice and sweet? It was all right a minute ago. Beautiful. Ed's got his new air feed on now. So when you're driving down the road, you get to hear the engine perfectly, don't you?
Yeah, you get a warble in your ear. It's lovely.
Well, thank you, Ed. Such a nice sunny day here in St. Retford. I thought we'd have a little video of Ed cruising up. Okay, YouTubers, we have a little engine arrived in the workshop last night, quite late on. It's a very special engine. Someone's made some real effort, and I just wanted to share with you some of the engineering that's gone into it and just show you how much effort people went to back in the day when they were building these engines. Now, you know, we'll just start with the connecting rods. Look at how beautiful they are, you know, and the pistons. These are standard skirted pistons that someone has relieved. Well, I mean, they've even polished it. Look, if you look, you can see the back. That's the standard cast Hepalite piston. The finish, the effort that's gone into it to make it all nice and smooth and reduce the stresses is amazing. I'm not particularly keen on them because the ring gland, the piston ring, is too close to the top of the piston, basically. So we quite often see they crack here where they're very, very thin, and then the top of the piston falls off. You might have seen that in the past on other engines. But anyway, that's okay, but it has actually got issues. It's knocked out and done a big end and other things. But anyway, look at this cam carrier. Someone has made that cam carrier out of a lump of alley on a milling machine. And I don't mean like a CNC milling machine. I mean like an old Bridgeport. They probably had a notepad full of numbers, and they've chewed it out, put bronze sleeves in it. The idea being was that on full lift, because obviously using high lift camshafts, rather than the cam bucket sticking out of the bottom of the carrier unsupported, these bronze sleeves support the cam follower on full lift so they can't tip and break. So that's lovely. And it has this little spacer plate because obviously it's on an offset crank, so if you look, you'll see the liner is just proud by a couple of mil to get the extra stroke. Obviously it's 74mm bore, which is 1040cc on a standard stroke. It's 1100cc because I think it's 63.8 instead of 60.4 stroke. Now this is the head, nice head. Look at the effort they've gone to here though. This is obviously, it's an upright engine, so on the imp, because it lays like this on an imp, all the oil drains away naturally away from the valve springs and the valve guides. But on an upright imp, the oil pools, so it all gets drawn down the guides and you end up with smoky. So what they've done is you see that bung there, they've drilled all the way through the head. If I just shine a torch there, can you see the light shining through? So they've created a galley all the way along the engine, along the cylinder head, sorry, so that the oil can't get higher than the top of the guide and then go down the guide. The oil is able to drain away to the front of the engine and back down to the sump. Absolutely magic. Now we just stick valve guard oil seals on them and let them pool as much as they want because the oil's good, obviously. It lubricates and cools, etc. So the crankshaft, unfortunately, got a few issues. It's had a starvation issue, but just look at this effort. I mean, this is mega. Someone has made steel mains caps for this. That entire rear cap there is made of, I don't know, maybe it's EN24 or something, or probably not even that, probably just EN8, just normal steel, but much stronger than the imp aluminium LM24 caps. But like, there is no problem with the LM24 caps. I don't know quite why they've gone down that road of doing that, because it's very, very rare we see an issue with a main bearing cap on an imp. So obviously a nice tooth belt drive down to the water pump. No Davis Craig's electric pumps back in the day. This was a proper mechanical thing. But yeah, what a lovely piece of effort. That's the best way I can describe it. The effort that has gone into it is just magic. And this is unlike anything I've ever seen before. I've never seen a casting like that. This is obviously a 930 block. So look at this one here. This is one. It doesn't have the extra bit underneath. How strange. I've never seen that. I've just noticed it now. Wow. So maybe it's a pre-production block or something. I don't know what it is, but it's definitely a bit special. Anyway, we'll stop getting excited about an old imp engine. We're going to box it up and put a proposal to the chap who owns it, and then we'll see where it ends up from there. As I've just noticed as I was talking, I just realised there's actually quite a few differences on this engine. This is a bog standard Sunbeam Talbot B1 block, a 930, so it has the 930 cast into it here, just like this one does, although that one is upside down compared to that one. And I was just looking and I thought, you know, normally you spot a 930 straight away by these two lugs, so it's got the two lugs, but then I noticed it's maybe a bit of a crossover block. This one is just standard here, whereas this one has got the imp. That was the original breather off the Mark 1 imp. And now look here, we've got the dipstick tube for the original position on an imp, and it's also got this one, whereas this one, look, it hasn't got anything. So there's also a bit of something here that this one doesn't have. Yeah, there's quite a few differences. I think this is I mean, it's nothing different, it's the same block height, etc., but it's definitely a bit of a special block, that. I wonder, I suppose it's all supposed to be Hartwell stuff, but yeah, I mean, that is quite trick, that. Quite different, should I say. Okay, remember last week, if you were watching, we did the crank trigger position talk on the 1200cc engine, the tall one with the long rods, the steel crankshaft, because obviously I wanted to get the crank off for balancing, and I wanted to get this trigger wheel put on it before we took it for balancing, so that the missing tooth could be taken into account. So if you remember in last week's video, this trigger was too small diameter, so it was just sat behind the pulley, which was going to make it hard to make it read the sensor to read the trigger. So I've ordered a bigger trigger, and it's arrived, and it's, as Alan Milliard would say, it's just perfect. I've got a great bit of land there for me to mount the trigger wheel at the crank sensor. The crank sensors are quite susceptible to harmonics, so you'll get a certain RPM and they'll get a wobble on, you know. So it's very important that they're mounted in a good way. I've mounted them on like aluminium brackets in the past, stuck out here like that, and you can sometimes get a misfire, and when you put the oscilloscope on, you can see on the computer that the trigger is basically it's vibrating, and it's changing the gap effectively, so it doesn't read the missing tooth properly. So that'll be fantastic there, because it'll be rigid, you know, nothing's going to move. Obviously the pulley's attached to the crankshaft, so that won't move. Anyway, I'm dead happy with that. That'll work a treat. The belt's going to run this way to the alternator, so not going to get interference there. So we'll get the crank out, and then in the morning we'll go to Bob's and hopefully get a video of it on the balance. Just arrived at Bob's with the crankshaft in the morning. He's not actually here yet. That's his unit. And I just thought I'd dead quickly show you my new unit. So this is the old canteen for the chicken farm. Needs a new roof, but apart from that, it's got land, it's quiet, there's space to load up outside. If I wanted to bring the Hillman on the trailer, it'd be bliss compared to Moss Road, where everything's a bit squashy. Yeah, look at that, it's massive inside, high roof. Might even get the ambulance in there, keep him nice and dry. Yeah, so I'm going to put a big roller shutter door on the front there, and then yeah, it's deep, it's really deep, it's 1,600 square foot. Look at that. I'll be able to get all my no, honestly, I'm going to try and declutter before I move here. I want to get rid of all my tat and just bring the essentials. Bob starts the morning by removing his classic car collection from the workshop. V12. Oh, it's so sweet, and it smells amazing. It's absolutely mechanically silent. I absolutely love it. Hop on it, Bob. Might be quite an involved affair, this. Oh. Is there a certain way of doing it?
Yeah.
Look at that. That is a proper engine. Give it a blip, Bob. Right. Quick look at the dashboard, Bob. I won't get you in it, don't worry. Look at that, it's got oil pressure. Oh yeah, £50. Awesome. Thanks, Bob. Okay, Bob's just been telling me about this cylinder head. Unfortunately, he declined to be interviewed for Shrigleytube, but look at this. This is a V12, what they call a HE Jaguar cylinder head. The port is beautiful on it. Look at that. The turn on it. I mean, this is like a race engine. The only thing I don't understand is if you look, the chamber is really strange. It's got like, the inlet valve is level with the face. The exhaust valve is recessed. Apparently, these ran 11:1 compression. And he did say they ran quite a lot of advance as well, which I can imagine, because this just goes against everything that I try and achieve with what I do. I mean, the plug's recessed. I mean, this is just all bad. I don't know. I mean, obviously it works, but yeah, I don't understand enough to comment really. But to me, everything about that is wrong. But it obviously worked and did what it did. Maybe it was an emissions thing. I did notice it's got these little holes here in the exhaust port, which I believe fed air into the exhaust system on an air pump to try and clean up the emissions. But yeah, fascinating. We've been here before, but I just always have to do a little video. That's a new one. The valve seat cutter. There's a couple more here. And I've always got to talk about this machine because this is called a Dean Smith and Grace. Now, if you're into your machines, you'll know this is the Rolls Royce of lathes. It is awesome. You can chew an inch flywheel out in about 30 seconds with this thing. It's about 10 horsepower. This is my old Bridgeport, I'll say my old Bridgeport that I used to do all the imp heads on when I worked with Bob. And this is Hona. When I'm next door, that's the Scow, which is for boring. When I'm next door to him, I reckon I'll be able to use all these machines for doing the cars right, which will be a real help. Looks like he started tuning mini A-series engines. Any joking, of some sort of 2-cylinder diesel engine, I think. Right, we just spun the crank up on the balance there, me and Bob, and obviously the cranks would have been balanced beforehand, but we've just put the front pulley on now to see. And I was really interested because it wants a hole drilled here, and I thought it'd be opposite where the missing tooth is, but it's actually in line with it. So Bob's just explained to me that the back end of the crank is 20.3 times out of tolerance, and the front end is 12 times out of tolerance. So we've got some drilling to do to bring him back to where it needs to be before we put the flywheel and clutch on. Right, we've set the piece of Swiss cheese going round again after drilling many a hole in it. Is it in, Bob, or what?
The back is, just the front.
Just the front. Just some more holes.
Not much. 1.6 out of that.
Third time lucky. Thinking about it. The front's still out.
Tiny bit.
Not quite there yet. Hallelujah. Take 10. Right, can we weigh the flywheel now, Bob?
Yeah.
Excellent. Are you feeling confident, Robert?
No.
No.
2 grams to go, yeah?
2 grams?
Yeah.
Are we going to be winners, Bob? Oh! 112 milligrams and we're in. Same place again. Okay, we're going to have a little chat about ignition systems. I'm going to try and not tie myself in 1,000 knots. My very clever friend has done me a wiring diagram. Before I get stuck into that, I just wanted to say I had not one but 2 contacts, emails to say, Andy, don't drink coffee or tea out of your plastic cup. It's not designed for it. Something to do with microplastics or something. So we're on the gardener mug now, which this is very special, this mug, because my mate Kev Dreads Kev Eldridge, when we went to the Anson Engine Museum with the International Weekend, he came out of there and presented me with it and said, "That's for you, mate." I was like, "Really? You bought me a mug?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "I saw you looking at it. I knew you were too tight to buy it, so I bought it for you." I thought, yeah, that sums it. Anyway, this ignition system, I believe it's called like a Lucas AB14. It's what's on like Lotus Sunbeams, that type of car, that Sunbeam Talbot from the 80s. And they were also on these fire pumps, so I have an abundance of them. So I want to make use of them because obviously they've got a brand new Dizzy Lucas 45 D4 and new 12-volt coil and a ballasted, this is the ballast resistor here, and it has this little ignition amplifier that lives on the inner wing. You might be familiar with these. The resin used to get warm and drip down the inner wing on the Talbot Sunbeam, so I've siliconed them in so that they stay sealed. Nice little loom. So literally you plug that onto there. There's 2 wires that go to the Dizzy. There's your coil wires, and you end up with this plug. We've got a white, a black and white, and a blue and white. Now, my friend has basically done this wiring diagram for me, and he said the white is to the ignition, the white and black is to the tacho. I'm going to sell these ignition units hopefully with this piece of paper so people can wire it up. And the starter solenoid small terminal is the white and blue. Now, I'm not dead well up on it. He's explained it to me. I did know about it, but apparently back in the day when you were trying to start your Ford Cortina with a Pinto in it, you know, with points and condenser in winter, because you get something called voltage drop where the battery will drop to 9 volts when you're cranking it. What they used to do was they used to run a 9-volt coil with a ballast resistor. So when the 12 volts, when the engine was running and it had the full 12 volts, it ran through the ballast, which brought it to 9, so the coil saw 9 volts. But when you were cranking it, it used to have another wire from the starter motor that gave 12 volts direct, or should I say 9 volts direct to the coil, so that you got a better spark on cranking basically. So it'd only see the 12, the bypass from the ballast on cranking when the voltage was lower. When the voltage comes back up again after the engine started, that wire would go dead from the starter and the power feed would come through the ballast, which would make it 9 volts because obviously it's a 9-volt coil. Although don't ask me why the coil is 12 volts, but it does say use with external ballast resistor. So that's how it's been explained to me. I hope I've got it half right. It was just basically so you got a better spark when your voltage dropped to 9 volts on cranking back in the day, before electronic ignition came out and all the wonderful things we've got nowadays that break down and you can't fix. So that's basically a summary of it. Leads, cap, well, leads aren't here, the cap. We're going to put all this on the 1040 of Knowles. I've just been putting his car back together and putting them on, waiting for some trumpets to arrive, and we'll get a tune out of that. I was hoping to do it today, but unfortunately I have to go and pick the Winkles up, so, well, not unfortunately, I'm off now, so it's end of play for the week. Okay, YouTubers, bit of an update on the 930 test engine, the ones that were destined for fire pumps. Been in the Husky about a week now, and we've done a few miles, cruising around, and I'm about to take him home for the weekend so I can do some more miles. So I just want to get ideally up to about 500 miles before I start advertising, just so I can make sure that there's no rocks unturned, so to speak. Nothing going to catch me out. I don't want to sell a load of them and then find us an issue with anything. So I'm just what we're doing. Oh yeah, I just changing the thermostat. The thermostat lives in the end of the head here, and I've just got this, which is an 88-degree thermostat. I'm going to put this in it because I had a 74 in it, which is what I sell to all the fast road guys with the Hillmans for the road. But ultimately, the heater wasn't that good. I know I'm a bit next-side, isn't it? But it has got a good heater, this car. It's got 2 matrices in the front to help aid the cooling of the engine. But both matrices blow the hot air into the cabin, and it was definitely a bit chilly the other morning. So I thought, you know what, before we go home for the weekend, I'm going to put this 89-degree thermostat, 88, sorry, rather than the 74, and give it a bit of a look over. Everything looks cool. The fuel pump, really happy with that. No problems with flooding, because I didn't know if it'd be the same pressure as Stromberg as a Solex. That obviously was designed to feed a single Stromberg carburetor, but that all works fine. No vaporization. The ignition system is great. It fires up first time, just idles lovely, no problems at all there. So yeah, it's all good. Just in case you were wondering how the cooling system works and how I've actually got it incorrect, the water waits in the radiator after it's been cooled by the fan there, and the water pump is down here, and the water pump is basically waiting to shove the water into the engine, but it can't because the thermostat is obviously shut. When that opens at 88 degrees, then the hot water goes back into the radiator to be cooled. Now, what we have here is where I've bodged it and put a bung on it, because this is called a bypass. So if you can imagine, this heater pipe here goes off to the front of the car and it comes back down and feeds into the water pump, that one there. What happens is, when the thermostat is shut, when the engine's cold in the morning, all the water that can't get past the thermostat goes up the bypass, up the heater pipe to heat the cabin. And then obviously as you get halfway to work, the engine gets to temperature, and a certain amount of the water is then cooled into the radiator, so as it maintains temperature. However, in summertime, if you turn the lever in the front, there's a little lever, I'll try and zoom in on it, down there, into the cold position, what happens is the water can no longer go down here because the lever closes the valve that stops the water from going. So what we have is a bypass circuit, and this bypass pipe runs back into a T-piece underneath here and back into the pump, so that they're just basically giving the water somewhere to go, because if you've got that big water pump going round at crankshaft speed and there's nowhere for it to go, it has to have a bypass basically. So a little bit of a look into how the cooling system works on the Hillman. We'll get this stat changed and go for a drive. Okay, just fired him up. If you come to do a coolant change on your Hillman or anything like that, always go to the little, just down here we've got, let's see, a bleed valve. Undo that, back him off, and then give him a quick rev. Right, I think that's just neat coolant coming out of there now. We will check it again later, but I think it's clear. Turned from a bit of a cruise round in the Husky, doing a bit of dropping off of parcels and stuff, and yeah, with the 88 degrees thermostat in, the needle is now virtually straight down and in line with the M, whereas it was just out of the blue in the cold when I had the 74 degree in it. I put the heater on, it's toasty that. Oh, can't wait for it to be icy now. I'll start using the Husky for work and try and put some miles on him, so hopefully next week we'll get like a price list of all the new engines and the cost and the spec and etc. But I was going to say, when I first passed my test and I used an imp every day of my working life, I went to Coventry or something in the imp, and I was flying down there, and it was had a rear rad, and I could see the temp gauge when I was in the outside lane doing like 80. I could see it going over to the M, and I just thought, well, you know, it's got two chances. Carried on, kept my foot in, and when I pulled up on the driveway at home, I thought, it's run on 3 this, and I couldn't wait to take it apart, find out what's up. I took the head off it, I'm thinking the head gasket had blown, but the head gasket was perfect. It was number 4 exhaust valve, just a little nick in the corner, just burnt it. So put a new valve in it, reset the clearances, and it was good as gold again. Anyway, I won't waffle too much, there you go. So I think we're there, just about there now with the 930. Little update on the Honda Joe 90. This was meant to be a quick project, you know, not spend any time on it. So it's had to get boxed up, I'm afraid. It's going to get put to one side because although it does have an engine number and a chassis number, it does not have a registration number. So there's no point putting lots of effort into it if I can't sort of put it on the road as a legitimate bike, because the idea was to get a bit of you know, experience on the road and on the Joe 90 before I moved into the VFR 400. But I have it's like a little guilty pleasure, I suppose you could call it. You know, I love working on customers' engines, but I do like to just have my little half hour at the end of the day where I mess around doing my own stuff. You know, most people do something different, don't it? Like archery or something, or football. But no, I mess about with old Honda 90 engines. But I just thought I'd show you this. The piston was cream crackered, the rings were stuck in it, and it's just old and that. So I had a bit of a measure up, and I found a 57mm piston. This is 50. So as you can see, we've had a bit of a capacity increase, guys. So I've bored it to 57. I just threw it in a 4-jaw, clocked it up, ploughed through it about half an hour, nothing major. So that makes it 119cc now. So I've got to sort the head out, just going to clean up a bit of a decoat, recut the seats. I've got to turn a pilot for my valve seat cutting tool because it's on 5.5mm guides. What was I going to show you? Oh, the carburetor is missing a part. If anyone out there is a Honda 90 specialist, I need the top half of the carburetor. So we're going to do that, get that sorted, and then we'll get it running, and then it might just be flipped on as like a bit of a road going, you know, what's the word for it? Like a pit bike, you know, for people who go racing and want to use it in the pits. But if I can't get a registration document for it, it's just no use to me, I'm afraid. So not going to put any more effort into it other than to put it back together and see if we can get a documentation. Do you ever get that feeling that someone's looking after you? This is Percy Passat, and he got a flat tyre, bit of a puncture, limped him to the petrol station. Don't think I've damaged it. Hopefully it'll go again with a repair. But I just come to look at this. Wait till you see this, you're going to cringe. That's what I did. That, believe it or not, is the brake pipe. Is it zoomed in? Oh my God. Oh my Lord. It's had some like plastic sheathing on it, you know, from the factory, and the moisture's got underneath it. Of course, you can't see all this on MOT. So if you're running an older car, I suggest that you have a right good look over it, because that's like what I call failure imminent. Look, the muck stuck behind it for years and years, and that is about as rotten as they get. In fact, look at that, I've just broke it. That's your brakes failing. That's you not stopping with the kids in the car. Anyway, just saying, if you've got an old ride, like this is 05 plate, it's worth giving it the extra check over, making sure everything's right on it. We'll get a new flexi ordered. Is it just me, or is anybody else incapable of going near a job without it escalating? I thought we'd just change the tyre or get the tyre repaired. So now I put the flexi on, a bit of grease and clean up. I've had to put some pads in it because they were through to the nearly through to the revet, and then I didn't even want to look any further. But look at that, shock absorber's a bit damp, so to get some shocks. Flipping at Percy Passat, it's like Christmas all rolled into one, isn't it? I hope you're going to be good for the next 350,000 miles. I don't want to spend any more money on you. Aha! Morning, Dylan.
Morning.
What's happened to my? Have you repaired my wheel?
I've repaired your wheel.
Have you got it right this time?
It is right this time.
You do realise
it will be the last time.
How much inconvenience you've caused me with this failing tyre. What was the problem? It got a hole in it.
It didn't have a hole in it. There was a specific section along the rim where it was letting air out from inside the bead there.
So basically, now you've admitted that you didn't fit it properly in the first place. Do you have like a claims form or like a personal department?
I have a HR department.
You do?
Yes.
Right. Tell them I'll be in touch.
I will.
I've had to get the pump out twice on this over the last couple of weeks.
My inconvenience. My apologies.
And I spent £1 in a petrol station.
£1 at a petrol station. Putting in air.
Yeah. And the time. Okay. Thank you for sorting that out, mate.
No problem.
Much appreciated.
It is okay. My apologies.
How many pull your leg? Message for Dylan in the claims department. Mate, the tyre didn't do too well. Coming back from Bradford last night for the stock cars. It was early hours of the morning. I felt it had gone a bit squidgy on the way home. But we just wanted to get home because it was chucking it down with rain. So I did the last couple of miles with it flat. And I don't think you'll be able to repair that, mate. I think it's cream crackered. Doug, you're holding the job up here. I've undone the wheel nuts. Come on, mate, big push. That's it. God, good lad. Can you come and work at the workshop with me one day?
Yeah.
Cool.
But I'm really good at pumping tyres up. I'm really good.
Right, I'll take over now, mate. So, how long does it take you to make that, Dougie? About 5 minutes?
Like 5.
Yeah, that is super impressive, mate. It's all uniform.
Yeah, Frank is on the front. Stop him. And he's so good.
Right, let's move on to this one. Is this one a grader for Bradford?
Yeah, and it's a grader.
To get the track nice and flat, but
yeah, and it moves on its own. It moves on its own, but there's a...
Is that a propeller?
No, that's a propeller, and it can move on its own.
And what's this one at the back? Is that like a telehandler?
Yeah, that one is a telehandler. What do it do? I show you. It moves like a moving thing.
That is mega, mate. Be careful. I think we need to look at the structural rigidity of this section here. It looks a little bit like it could bend, you know?
That bit could bend.
Well done, Doggy, that is. I'd pass you this one, mate. That's awesome.
Yeah, down is the sauce.
What's these bits here for?
For it can't come out.
Brilliant.
It can't come out.
Ah, see? Wicked. Okay, congratulations, YouTubers. You've made it through to the end. Big round of applause. Pat yourself on the back if you're still awake. I hope you enjoyed what you've seen. I look forward to seeing you all next week at Sunday at 7. Bye for now. Have a great week.